So the footage for this hunt actually comes from the very first hunt that we aired on Livin' Free Outdoors when we were on TV, and it's an archery deer hunt. It takes place in Oklahoma. I was hunting by myself, so because I was having to be cameraman and hunter at the same time, I decided to go with a crossbow instead of a compound. And I'll save you the trip details, but I headed out from California to Oklahoma, and I ended up rolling into Oklahoma late afternoon on October 4th. So when I got there, I got my gear unloaded. I moved it into the trailer I sleep in, which we call the Taj Mahal, and I laid everything out, got ready to go hunting the next day, had a little dinner, got a good night's sleep, and I got up first thing the next morning to head out to go hunting. And I'll just tell you, I was there for 2 weeks hunting day and night, and I never did get a single shot at a deer. And I saw plenty of deer, but I never could get a shot off with the bow and have the camera on a deer at the same time. So part of the problem was I was hunting from the ground and using natural cover, and that had worked just fine the year before, but this year the deer just weren't cooperating. So I had to get back to California, and I decided before I left, I knew I'd be coming back, I decided to buy a couple of ladder stands and put them up. So the day before I headed back to California, I put up these 2 ladder stands, and one of the stands I put up, I noticed the tree had a vine growing up it, and I didn't really pay attention to it, and I probably should have paid more attention to it, because when I left the next morning, I was already starting to get a little red on my arm here, and I was just thinking maybe it was because when I put the tree stand up, I'd scraped my arm on the bark and maybe abraded it. But about halfway home, I was rolling through Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it was itching pretty good. And by the time I got back to California, I had a full-blown case of poison ivy. Now, I had to go to the doctor to get pills for that, and it took a couple of weeks to heal up. While I was home, I took care of the business I had to take care of, and Halloween came and went, and before I knew it, it was time to head back to Oklahoma. So I loaded up my gear, jumped in my truck, and headed back that way for round 2. And when I got there, I loaded everything back into the Taj Mahal, got a good night's rest, got up first thing the next morning, and went out hunting. And I'll tell you, when I was out there, only saw 1 deer, and I didn't even see the whole deer. I only caught a glimpse of some antlers in the brush. So again, success was not going to come easy, and that was the only deer I saw that day. But not too long after that buck went through there, I saw something that made my day. Now, that was the only black coyote that I've ever seen in person. I don't know if that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I still got a lot of living to do. Time will tell. But I wasn't there to hunt coyotes. I was there to hunt deer. And I kept hunting. I hunted for a full another week without getting a shot off at a deer. And I was starting to think that I wasn't going to get the footage I needed for the TV show. But as luck would have it, just as I was getting back from one of my morning hunts, a good friend of ours named Dale, he stops by to see how things are going, and we talk a little bit, and he tells me if I just want to shoot a deer, he'd take me and let me use his ground blind. And I know from talking with him that every evening he has does coming into this ground blind. So at this point, I just need to get a kill on film, and I take him up on his offer. So 3 p.m. sharp, he comes and picks me up, he drops me off at his ground blind, and I get all settled in, and I'm sitting there about an hour when I hear the barbed wire rattle to my right. And rather than tell you what happened, I'm just going to show you. Now, needless to say, when I reviewed that footage, I was pretty happy with what I had on camera. And I'd heard that buck crash in the woods about 100 yards off. And so I could have went and got that buck and left with the footage I had and been pretty happy, put together a show with it. But there was about an hour and a half of shooting light left, and I decided to stay where I was at for a little while. And I got to tell you, I'm glad I did. So that was that. I finally did what I'd come to do, and all in all, I think over the course of a month and a half, I spent 21 days hunting without taking a single shot. And then, thanks to help from a friend, over the course of 2 hours, I was able to have 2 deer on the ground and the footage I needed for the first hunt episode on TV. And I figured since we had the footage, might as well use it for the first hunt episode online. So that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you keep watching the show. I don't know what the next episode's going to be, but I'm leaning towards doing a gold mining episode. Just don't hold me to it. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here, but before I do, I am going to remind you, be sure and visit us at livinfreeoutdoors.com. And one more thing. Until next time, get outside and do something.